Welcome, everyone, to the Intel Builders webinar program. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today for our presentation titled All-Flash Intel NVMe SSD Supercharges Windows Server 2016 Hyper-Converged Cluster. Before we get started, I want to point out some of the features of the BrightTalk tool that may improve your experience. There is a Questions tab below your viewer. I encourage our live audience to please ask questions at any time. Our presenters will hold answering them until at the end of the presentation. Below your viewing screen, you will also find an Attachments tab with additional documentation and reference materials, including a number of websites and documents mentioned in this presentation. Finally, at the end of the presentation, please take the time to provide feedback using the Rating tab. We value your thoughts and will use this information to improve our future webinars. Intel Builders webinar series takes place live every week, so check the channel to see what is upcoming and access our growing library of recorded content. Today we are pleased to welcome Howard Lowe, Subodh Bhargava, and Vivek Sarathi. Howard Lowe is the Vice President in Marketing at DataON. He has been a lifelong member of the technology industry, starting with Intel in 1999. Howard has strong ties to storage networking field thanks to his years at Emulex, Jetta Networks, and EVGA. Howard has moved further in the storage stack with Microsoft software-defined storage and hyper-converged cluster appliances from DataON Storage. Subodh Bhargava is a Senior Program Manager for Microsoft Enterprise Cloud Group and is currently responsible for Windows Server 2016 software-defined data center, go-to-market, and SMB Direct. Prior to Microsoft, Subodh held a number of product management positions in the storage industry and was an IT consultant for many years. Vivek Sarathi is a solutions architect for Intel, focusing on software-defined storage, NVMe, and storage space direct. You can find Vivek's writings on Windows 2016 and all-flash deployments on Intel's IT Pure Network. Welcome, Howard, Subodh, and Vivek, and thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And thanks for introducing all the speakers. And we're very pleased and excited to have both Subodh from Microsoft and Vivek from Intel could join us today and really share with you guys all the technology behind the hyperconvergence that DataON is putting together with our key technology partners. I'll do a quick introduction of the background of the overall industry. Then I'll pass it over to Subodh, who will really give you an overview of why we're so excited about Windows Server 2016 and all the features it brings. Then Vivek will give you an overview of why Intel technology solution, especially NVMe SSD, will be the game changer in really your deployment. To start off with, I would like to give you a quick overview. Many of you may know that already. What is hyperconverged infrastructure, abbreviated HCI? Really, if you look at some traditional storage for the past 20 years with traditional SAN, iSCSI, and fiber channel, everything is disaggregated with server, network, switch, and storage into different pools. As the industry continues, you'll see that convergence happens where you have server, network, and storage converging. But with hyperconverged, now you have the ability to really combine compute, storage, networking into a single physical appliance and really help you simplify your deployment, easy provisioning, and really help manage your infrastructure in a much more clean and easily accessible way. As you continue to look at this topic, it's become a very, very hot topic in the marketplace with the IT infrastructure. And you're not only the market is growing exponentially from a $2 billion TAM to projected $8 billion in 2017, but more importantly, it has a very specific target segment that many of the IT infrastructure and decision makers are looking at to grow. And one of the key things is really ability for you to scale out your data center and really increase your compute and storage incrementally and parallel as you see required in your infrastructure. And we're very excited about it, not only the fact that it is a great technology and infrastructure for the future, but really it's a really great value proposition for multiple parts of the IT enterprises, whether or not you're mid-sized enterprises with the IT growing need, or you're a bigger vendor, a data center or hosting company that needs to grow your resources and you're very conscious of cost, we believe a hyper-converged infrastructure will be an option for you to consider as we continue to go down the path of really growing this market. So what I'll do now, turn over to Sabu from Microsoft, who will really give you an overview of Windows 2016 that was introduced and how excited we are about all the features it provides, especially in hyperconvergence. It's all yours, Sabu.
All right. Thanks, Howard. Hello, everyone. My name is Subodh Bhargav. I'm a program manager at Windows Server High Availability and Storage team. Let me start by giving you a quick overview of Windows Server 2016 that GA'd actually just earlier this month, and then talk about key features and benefits of Windows Server software-defined storage and why it's the best platform for hyper-converged infrastructure. So this release of Windows Server is dramatically different from prior releases as it goes well beyond server virtualization that we have used to. But because previously the world has all been about servers, but that's changing. The cloud wave that's underway, and our customers have asked us to deliver innovations to solve really three key problems. First is security threats, then there's data center costs, and application innovation. And Windows Server 2016 really delivers on all these three key elements with a great degree of modernization in all of these three areas. So let's look at let's get right into it and look at top 10 reasons why you love Windows Server 2016. They map directly back to those high-level three themes. So we are looking at security, software-defined data center, application platform, and management. Now, security continues to be top of mind with customers around the globe, given the number of breaches and cyber attacks we have seen now actually on a regular basis. Windows Server 2016 includes built-in breach resistance to help prevent attacks on your systems and meet compliance goals. Even if someone finds a way into your environment, the layers of security built into Windows Server limit the damage that they can cause and help detect suspicious activities. So you can protect your admin credentials from pass-the-hash attacks, for example, using Credential Guard, and control administrator privileges with just-in-time administration and just-enough administration, which together help minimize the time and capability granted for specific privileges. You can also protect the operating system itself by resisting breaches with built-in Control Flow Guard, which helps prevent memory corruption attacks, and Windows Defender that's optimized for server roles. It helps ensure not only the software is trusted, but it can be run on server with Device Guard. And to protect your virtual machines, finally, you can use something called shielded VMs that we are pretty excited about. It's a feature that encrypts your VMs with BitLocker and helps ensure that they can run only on hosts that are approved by Host Guardian Service. So effectively, minimizing the damage that could be caused by malicious admins or untrusted, hosted environments. Moving on to software-defined data center, let's look at the tremendous advancements that we have made in Windows Server 2016, which is really the cornerstone of this release in the area of software-defined data center. So just to highlight a few things, on the compute side, you can now upgrade Windows Server clusters to version 2016 without any downtime and without requiring any new hardware by using something called a mixed OS cluster mode upgrade. On the network side, we know that traditional network infrastructures are very rigid and complex. Software-defined networking, which comes with Windows Server 2016, allows customers to respond faster to market changes by moving the network control layer from hardware to software, right? So that's what software-defined networking does. It enables them to centrally configure and manage physical and virtual network devices, such as routers, switches, and gateways, for automatic load balancing, and you can shift your workloads without even touching your physical network fabric. For storage, we know that data continues to grow exponentially, driving costs, storage costs up every year. Windows Server 2016 delivers new features for very reliable, cost-effective, high-performance storage. And Storage Spaces Direct, which I'm going to talk about later, is really the cornerstone of our software-defined storage strategy. But in addition to Storage Spaces Direct, let me talk about a couple of things here, right? Which is storage replica. So whether you have SAN storage or JBODs or directly attached storage, storage replica enables storage agnostic replications between servers or clusters for disaster recovery. It's a block-based replication, and you can either do synchronous or asynchronous depending on your SLAs. And with storage quals, if you're not familiar with that, storage quality of service, you can centrally manage and monitor storage performance. You can set very fine-grained IOPS, minimums and maximum policies for virtual machines to ensure that those are not only met, but your high critical workloads are provided the storage guarantees and storage SLAs that they want from storage. So that's how you can isolate or basically build a private cloud that is well optimized for different kinds of workloads. On the remote desktop services, real quick, there are again several enhancements, several advancements that we have made. Most prominently, you can now assign graphic cards to virtual machines to provide a very graphics-oriented user experience for applications and virtual desktops that demand that. And there are a bunch of improvements around scale, deployment, and security. Let me quickly talk about application platform, which is again one of the key themes of Windows Server 2016. There's two main things here: Nano Server, which is an OS image that is 25 times smaller than a regular Windows Server 2016 image, right? So you can imagine the small surface, sort of the attack vector, right? And it's a headless operating system, ideal for reducing your data center footprint or running applications that use containers and microservices. So it really provides a very small footprint and that just enough OS capability that you need from your hosted environment. On the other side, we have containers that support application innovation using Docker container technology and microservices. Containers, as you may know, help speed application deployment and they really streamline the way IT operations and development happens, and the collaboration happens between IT and operations. Developers can use microservices architectures to separate app functionality into smaller, independently deployable services, which make it easier to upgrade as part of the app without affecting the rest of the infrastructure. And real quickly, closing that story of Windows Server 2016 with management, that brings to bear, where you can define, deploy, and automate server management using PowerShell 5.1 and something called desired state configuration to automate routine operations. And then you can use server management tools. That's a free cloud service to manage remotely your Windows Server instances, not only on premises, but also in Azure. So let me, as promised, let me talk a little bit more about Storage Spaces Direct now, which, as I said before, it's a cornerstone of our storage space, of our software-defined storage strategy in Windows Server 2016. So what is Storage Spaces Direct? It gives you the ability to build highly available, truly enterprise-grade shared storage using industry-standard servers, either using local storage or directly attached storage. So just going from left to right and then top to down, if you look at cost factor first, right? So there's no separate licensing or pricing for Storage Spaces Direct. It's built into Windows Server 2016 that comes with all of the features that I spoke about before, storage replica, quals, SDN, storage network, software-defined networking, Nano Server, everything, right? So it's pretty amazing. If you look at the value prop that Windows Server 2016 brings to the table, including software-defined storage with Storage Spaces Direct, all of that is included in that one single license that unlocks not only unlimited VM use rights with Data Center Edition, but also all of these cool capabilities around software-defined data center. As opposed to many other vendors out there that have separate chargeable SKUs and licenses for different components, whether it's all flash or you're trying to scale the number of nodes and things like that, right? So for Windows Server, it's all built in. From a hardware standpoint, again, we have tried to bring the cost factor down because we don't require anything special in terms of hardware. If you bring special hardware, then we'll definitely acknowledge that and take advantage of the capabilities. but the architecture itself is not dependent on any special hardware, right? And I'll talk more about that later. So in terms of hardware, we support industry standard servers with low cost internal SATA drives or SAS drives if you would like to bring that. So it allows you to take advantage of the cost curve that the industry goes through, right? So as newer and denser drives come into picture, right, and the cost points become more affordable, not only hard drives but even flash media, for example, right? You can immediately take advantage of that as opposed to being logged into a particular vendor or into a particular, like the traditional storage arrays work, right? So you have a refresh cycle every 3 years or 5 years, and then you're logged into that kind of a hardware for that duration, right? As opposed to software-defined storage, where you can constantly refresh it and constantly update your drives as and when they meet your price points and business requirements. Similarly, for storage fabric, we work on low-cost Ethernet connectivity, and we don't require any expensive SAN or fiber channel connectivity, especially with Storage Spaces Direct. We support highly optimized erasure coding, Azure-inspired erasure coding that not only gives fault tolerance and resiliency at storage device level, but it also is more efficient in storage than your traditional hardware way. So all of that makes it a very low-cost alternative to expensive NAS and SAN storage, as well as to other hyper-converged platforms popular in the industry today. Talking about performance, the value prop doesn't stop there, right? So when you combine cost with the kind of performance this platform delivers, I mean, that's really astounding. Over the last year or so, we have built many performance proof points working with our hardware partners, like DataON, like Intel, like other vendors in the industry. Just to give you a sense for the magnitude I'm talking about, consider these numbers, right? So think about this for a minute. 3 million IOPS, 3 million on 4-node hyper-converged cluster, right? That's one example. Over 6 million IOPS on a 16-node hyper-converged cluster. It's not just about IOPS, right? If you look at bandwidth, 80 gigabytes, not gigabits, 80 gigabytes per second of throughput on a 4-node hyper-converged cluster, and 150 gigabytes per second on a 12-node hyper-converged cluster. I mean, again, take a moment to think about these. And these are really astounding, these are phenomenal numbers. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, this is, I mean, you guys are in the industry, you know the numbers I'm talking about. I mean, this is truly astounding, especially given the fact that the kind of hardware this is working on is really industry standard hardware. Again, no secret sauce, except for what we bring to bear in terms of software optimizations and the technologies like NVMe drives and RDMA NIC cards, which offload your CPU cycles onto the NIC cards for not only faster CPU processing, but it gives cycles back to VMs that need it. Real-time storage tiering. So there's a lot of technology that goes behind supporting this performance, but end of the day, proof lies in the pudding, right? And that's what the numbers tell us. So again, I can hardly overemphasize this point that it's tremendous performance at a price point that's like truly unheard of. In terms of resiliency and fault tolerance, we can tolerate multiple simultaneous drive or node or component failures with continuous availability. So absolutely keeping the uptime that's required for running a private cloud or a highly virtualized workload, while tolerating those failures underneath that do happen, right? I mean, failures do happen, and you just want to make your software stack as much fault tolerant, as much resilient as possible, right? That's what software-defined storage is all about. There's self-healing in the system, so when hardware fails, you can simply swap it out, and Storage Spaces Direct handles the rest. We support rack and chassis awareness as well, so you can scale your deployments across data centers, across different racks in a data center, and we absolutely support that. For manageability, there's built-in health service that provides continuous monitoring, detecting of problems. It raises alerts, gives you performance, capacity dashboard, capacity metrics, I should say, cluster-wide metrics. And we rely on our hardware partners to expose that into dashboards. And a great example of that is actually DataON, and you'll see that later in the deck. And of course, you can use storage quals that I spoke about before for manageability. In terms of scalability, you can go from 2 nodes all the way to 16 nodes and over 400 drives in a single cluster that can scale to multiple petabytes of raw storage. Again, this is truly, enterprise grade, even more than enterprise. This is really cloud scale that we have targeted with this storage stack. You can scale up. You can start small again, as I said, for a 2-node environment. You can either deploy it in a hyper-converged form factor, and we learn more about that later in the deck, so I won't spend time right now. But you can do either hyper-converged or disaggregated, where you can separate your compute and storage cluster, and scale them independently. And that disaggregated model is really a true differentiator of storage spaces derived, because there are other vendors who support software-defined storage for hyper-converged, but I believe there's only one vendor today, which is Windows Server 2016, storage spaces direct, that also supports disaggregated, in addition to hyper-converged, of course, right? So you can pick and choose your favorite model there. And it's really pay-as-you-grow model, right? As opposed to a traditional infrastructure that I said before, it locks you into this refresh cycle. Whereas with us, you are only paying for the capacity, for the storage, for compute, for networking that you are actually using. So you can scale out in that fashion. You can start with 2 or 4 node cluster, and you can scale out as your business needs grow. And we don't lock you in and ask you to pay for all of that upfront, right? So that's really, again, a differentiator. So let me just quickly move on and now hand it over to, that shows you the model of hyper-converged and converged. Let me hand it over to Vivek now, who's going to talk about Intel technologies around CPU and storage that Intel brings to bear to optimize this entire stack using Windows Server software-defined storage. But just for your reference, just for your offline reference, I'm providing some pointers here that you can consume and learn more about Windows Server 2016. So again, thanks so much. Let me hand it over to Vivek.
Awesome. Thanks both. I'm Vivek. Vivek Sarthi, Solutions Architect from Intel's NSG group, focused on SSD technology, right? So I'm going to split my presentation into 4 different aspects. First aspect is going to be on where we see the storage technologies going towards, what are the different types of revolution that's happening in storage technology. The next aspect that we're going to look at is the IT challenges that today's data center is facing. The third aspect is going to be on SSD technology, what's the new SSD technology that we have, and finally we are going to look at storage spaces direct, different configurations that we have tested in the lab, and look at some of the numbers and see how well the architecture works, right? Awesome. So let's get started. So if you look at the way we see storage technology transforming, right? We see 3 key aspects. One is cloud. There's a lot of transformation in the storage technology where people are moving towards public cloud, private cloud, and then hybrid cloud, right? Depending on what usage you need, right? The next transformation that we're looking at is the different architectures of how storage as a whole is implemented. Say if you're looking at a private cloud implementation, you have different options of doing it, SAN being the traditional way, and that being more expensive, right? And more on the traditional aspect of things, people are moving towards scale-out architecture, where you have the hyper-converged architecture, right? And the third aspect is the storage media. 10 years back, if you'd asked me, hard disk was a big delay. Everyone whom you spoke with in the storage industry were excited about hard disk and how it was working and all the good stuff, right? Now, last 3-4 years, it's all changed. People are all talking about all flash, how all flash is benefiting the overall technology and why it matters, right? So from an IT infrastructure challenge point of view, we see 3 aspects of things that's been the biggest challenge in an IT infrastructure. One is the cost, the second is the performance, and third is the complexity. From a cost aspect, what you see is as the data has been growing at a very rapid pace in the last few years, right? And to manage the massive amount of data growth, the storage technology or the storage hardware is not able to keep in pace with it, right? And then you have the performance bottleneck. Say if you have a traditional SAN network, you end up having your fiber channel switch or your or your different stacks in the entire data center as being the bottleneck, right? And then you have the complexity. You have different technologies. You have cloud. You have the private infrastructure, and trying to manage all of them in the same platform is becoming very complex for the IT industry today, right? So to overcome this challenge, the industry is responding in moving from the traditional storage technology, your SAN network or your storage area, right? Moving towards your hyper-converged, where you have both your server and storage in the same platform, instead of having your server separately and your storage separately and having a very complex management system, right? Everything is moving towards the hyper-converged architecture, making it more simpler, more efficient to use, right? So from a Windows Server 2016 perspective, they have this nice feature called Storage Spaces Direct. Subodh gave a good introduction of the different benefits that you get implementing this feature, right? And what this enables, it virtualizes your overall storage. All the storage that you have in your server that's coming from the SSDs is now virtualized. We have a virtual pool of the entire storage where the different VMs can access, right? It can be implemented in different tiers. You can have NVMe as your caching, SATA SSD as your capacity, and different combinations that goes in, right? And I think Subodh covered this pretty well to show us what are the benefits of using this, right? So what we ended up doing was we, along with Microsoft, came up with 3 different recommended configurations to support storage spaces direct, right? One was IOPS optimized, the other one was throughput and capacity optimized, and the third one was capacity optimized, right? With IOPS optimized for workloads that are specific for high intensity IOPS aspect where you need data at an instant. The next one is your throughput and capacity optimized, where you have faster caching devices and a medium or not as fast as an NVMe, but a SATA device on the capacity tier, right? And the third one is the capacity optimized, where your sole focus is just storage, more of a cold storage tier, right? One thing that you see in these 3 different configurations is NVMe SSDs on all the 3 of them. You have NVMe's on the caching on option 2 and 3, and all NVMe on option 1, right? So for people who are not familiar with what's NVMe and how that technology differentiates between a SAS and a SATA, I'm just going to give a quick overview of where we think the technology is and the different numbers that we're looking at, right? So NVMe Express is the standard for PCI SSDs. It's been built from ground up, which means any bottleneck that we had previously seen is removed. It provides a direct access to your CPUs without any storage controller that's sitting in between, right? Say if you have a SAS or a SATA, you need a storage controller between them that accesses the CPU and does the whole magic, right? This NVMe technology removes that storage controller out, and there are 80 plus companies who are following this NVMe community, and there are 13 companies in the board of directors who decide on what kind of technology goes in, what are the future improvements that needs to be done. Okay, very exciting technology that's been there in the market. Awesome. So some numbers from an IOPS perspective. If you look at the IOPS, what we see is around 450K on a random read 4K compared to a 130K or a 75K on a SAS or a SATA platform, right? Same thing with the sequential bandwidth. You see around 2,000 megabits per second on the NVMe aspect, and 1,100 and 500 on a SAS and a SATA platform, right? So what this clearly shows us is if IOPS is one of your key requirements, NVMe works perfectly, right? To make sure that you get the best IOPS that's coming out when you compare it with a SAS or a SATA platform. From a latency perspective, what you see is there's a 0.25x latency compared to a 2x improvements in the performance when you compare the device to a SAS SSD, right? Huge difference. It works much better with a lower latency, and you have a higher IOPS when you compare it to a SAS device, right? So from a QoS aspect, very similar to the previous two results is you have a much better QoS compared to the other two platforms on the SSDs, both from a SAS and a SATA perspective. SAS and the SATA have around 1000 S microseconds when you compare to 35 microseconds at 99.9% of interface latency, right? Huge difference. NVMe has better IOPS performance, better latency performance, and better QoS performance, okay? So how does this all translate to storage spaces, right? From a solutions perspective, I had shown 3 different configurations with NVMe's on all the different tiers. Let me show you some performance numbers based on the testing that we've done in our lab. Let's start with the capacity optimized solution that we had. Where you have NVMe SSDs as your caching and hard disk as your capacity, right? This graph clearly shows you the difference between what happens when you have the working set or the active set of data that's there overflowing to a hard disk, right? Your hard disk now becomes a big bottleneck in the overall system, and there's a huge drop in the performance numbers, right? When the entire working set or when the active working set is within the caching device, you're looking at around 950K IOPS, right? Now your working starts growing. You have your workload expanding, and now it overflows to your hard disk, and there's a huge performance hit that no IT customer would like to see today, right? So this configuration works good if you're looking at implementing a cold storage aspect where you have storage that's accessed often, or your working set is not going to grow, and working set is going to be in a fixed platform. Okay. So the next one that we have is the NVMe SATA, which is throughput capacity optimized. We have NVMe SSDs on the caching and SATA SSDs on a capacity, right? What you see with this is when you have a 4-node cluster that's built in, and when the working set is within the caching device or within your NVMe, you see around 1.5K IOPS performance on a 4-node system, right? And now when your working set starts overflowing to your SATA SSDs, what you see is around 1.2K, right? The performance hit that you get when it flows to the SATA SSDs is not as intense as what you would see when there's an overflow to a hard disk, right? So an all flash works much better for anyone who's trying to implement storage spaces direct, where the working set is going to grow, and you know that you have your overall infrastructure is going to grow on a longer term. Okay. So the third one that we're going to see is going to be your all NVMe, where you have your NVMe SSDs as your caching, and mid to low endurance NVMe SSDs as your capacity, right? With this, what we see is around 3 million IOPS on a 4-node cluster. Very impressive performance by storage spaces on an all NVMe configuration, right? If a customer's focus is on IOPS, intensive workloads, and future technology, this is the perfect platform to go with, right? All NVMe's with high endurance on the caching and medium or low endurance NVMe SSDs on the capacity. 4 million IOPS, very impressive when you look at it coming from just a 4-node cluster. Okay. Awesome. So that kind of gave you an overview of the different performance numbers that we have seen. the 3 different configurations that Intel is recommending with Microsoft, and shows you the benefits of implementing each of the different configurations and what differentiates between the NVMe hard disk combination versus an all-flash NVMe SATA or an all NVMe based configuration, right? Awesome. So I'm going to let Howard take over from here, give an overview on the next topic, and go from there.
Thank you, Vivek, and thank you, Sabu. We've been partnered with Intel and Microsoft for a long, long time, and we really believe this partnership will really create a lot of momentum in the marketplace. And DataON, being a storage vendor, hyper-converged platform delivering person, we're very excited that we can work with technology leaders in the market to really deliver the cutting-edge technology to the customers. So I'm going to share with you just a couple of videos here we can load, but here's some slide deck on the video we have. We showcase existing customer really deploying hyper-converged solution based on Windows 16 today. And you could watch it after this particular webinar to kind of see what it is. But EVGA is one of the leading gaming vendors, and they're actually first to deploy Windows 16 hyper-converged in their platform, working with DataON. And in there, you'll see that EVGA really are looking at the cutting-edge technology of using Windows 16 and NVMe technology to really create the next infrastructure. And in that process, they're able to showcase ability to consolidate infrastructure from really racks of server and storage into a really condensed hyper-converged infrastructure with a 4-node all NVMe technology. In that, they're running Windows 2016 and all the features that Sabu described to you in terms of tier storage, replication, multi-resilient disk, and they're very excited to continue to explore that topic. And with all NVMe flash, in their environment, they're able to achieve over 2.4 million IOPS in the 4-node configuration, which is really tremendous, like Sabu mentioned, in this market, that you could achieve this type of performance. At the same time, we're working with leading network vendor like Mellanox to make sure you provide the bandwidth. Bandwidth and throughput was one of the topics that Sabu mentioned, and you could see that by working with a key technology vendor, you could really garner a really great bandwidth for your storage infrastructure. And you'll see that in the video of what that is, and we have a white paper, solution brief, everything providing the attachment you could use. So I'd like to spend the next 10 minutes just briefly give you a background on DataON for those that don't know us. DataON really is a pioneer of industry-leading provider of Microsoft-optimized cluster systems and also hyper-converged provider for Windows servers. Our value prop really is provide you a turnkey solution based on the leading technology and really working with Microsoft in their software-defined infrastructure to create a robust enterprise-level solution, and really working with their technology vendor like Intel and using their technology with NVMe to deliver the best solution for our customers. Ultimately, DataON really focused on those customers that have made the Microsoft choice. It really helps them build the right software-defined data center platform to fit their needs. In terms of the momentum, I was at Ignite and I asked a lot of questions of the customers. Do you guys realize that Microsoft, since Windows 2012 R2 and now moving to 2016, they have an enterprise-level software-defined stack in the box where you can really deliver storage, enterprise-level storage capability in your data center today? And a lot of them doesn't know that. And to me, it's really interesting because from DataON perspective, we have seen great momentum in the marketplace. Not only have we deployed these solutions into small, medium enterprises, but more importantly, large enterprise Fortune 500 companies such as Yellow Pages, Children's Hospital, Stanford, are all adopting Microsoft storage and using all the feature and capability and really replacing their traditional SAN storage. And not only does that continue, just this year we have added additional Fortune 500 customer, Amgen, Washington State University. All these are marquee names that have really evaluated the technology of storage spaces by Microsoft and really say, hey, it is the right solution for us. It is enterprise ready, and we are deploying it. And so the momentum for this particular deployment and storage space is really picking up, and we're excited to be part of it. As we continue to move forward, we have a lot of white paper to show you the deployment scenarios, what kind of environment they have, what type of solution we work and develop for them. So feel free to go to our website to download them, and you have it in the link as well. At Ignite, which is a month ago, DataON announced several key products. Number one is we launched our first Hyper-Converged infrastructure product called S2D 3100, which really is our Hyper-Converged cluster appliance for Windows 2016, and really showcase the capability of performance in an all NVMe SSD environment running Intel. More importantly, we know it's important for an infrastructure, a company, enterprise to have the right management platform for visibility and management. So we also announced and introduced our visibility and management platform for Windows 2016 called Must. It's a management utility software tool. This must give you visibility into health of your disk, performance, your fault alerts, everything that's described by Sabu in the health services and performance you need for enterprise level monitoring must deliver that to you. And that's part of your package and bundle when you purchase a DataON Hyper-Converged system with Windows 2016. And more importantly, all our products that we have been selling to the marketplace and really built around Windows are now all certified under 2016. And we've done a lot of tests and solutions with all the features come with it, like storage replica, like everything else we have with S2D. In addition, we introduced our brand new platform in which really delivers the integrated solution you could find. So when you get the solution and turnkey solution, you have the ability to now to build your solution based on all the key feature and technology on Windows and really optimize for today's on-premise solution. But more importantly, as you move out to Azure and the cloud with Microsoft, you have that capability in the future for the growth. Very simply, the DataON strategy is really building a platform solution system that's ready for end user consumption. We revolve our strategy around capacity performance, shared storage for 2012 and 2016, and really hyper-converged infrastructure based on Windows Server. You'll see we have many products that really fit in this category and really meet the need of your customer based on your need. If you need capacity, if you need performance, if you need throughput, we have the right solution and platform for you based on Microsoft. All our products that we've been selling and working with Microsoft and Intel for the last 10 years are all be certified under Windows 16, whether or not the JBOD, a cluster box, a backup storage, integrated service, or S2D. All these must pass certification and making sure it provides you, the end user, with choices and flexibility as you make the right decision on what you should have. And you should always go to the Windows catalog to make sure every single product you purchase on Windows are certified. And that's one of the key barometer of the test in interoperability and integration you need to do as a storage vendor as we work with software defined, because all our product solutions are all certified under Windows Server catalog. At Ignite, at the same time, we introduced 3 of our products for software-defined S2D, storage spaces direct based on Windows 16. You'll see we have, similar to what Intel has described, a platform based on IOP performance, a platform based on IOP and throughput, and a platform based on capacity. So based on what you need, you could find these solutions from DataON to make sure it meets your requirement. And these are exclusively focused on Microsoft. A lot of them, one of them is all-flash NVMe. They're customer proven because we have deployments today with S2D, Windows 16, with EVGA, and many other customers today we're working with to develop hyper-converged platform. And ultimately, with Must DataON, you have the ability to manage and have visibility into your 2016 platform. You'll see this data sheet that you could download for our S2D 3100. You'll also have ability to see the different deployments. You'll see that with DataON, we always provide you a visibility how you should deploy your infrastructure. If you want to deploy all-flash infrastructure with 4 nodes for IOP, you have ability now to do multi-resilient disk, making sure you have the right capacity for what you need. Second, you'll see another deployment where you have capacity. You have ability to take a node, connect it to a JBOD in a 4-node configuration. And in this configuration, you could have over 300 terabytes of usable capacity in an S2D hyper-converged deployment. We have Custom Box, which we talked about earlier. It's all certified with Windows 2016 for shared storage, and you have ability to do the storage replica and all the features for backup for your data center needs. I want to spend just a second on MUS. MUS is a very, very critical and very important, exciting product from DataON, which we've been selling Microsoft and working with Microsoft for the past 6 years. We believe having an infrastructure for our customer based on Microsoft to see your disk, the ability to track your performance, to have visibility into your systems is quite critical. And that's why DataON, with 2016 launch, we also launched our MUS platform. Our MUS platform is a very simplified GUI. You have ability now to monitor your entire infrastructure from DataON based on Windows on whether or not it's the nodes, inventory, CPU, throughput, memory, IOP. You should have the visibility in a single pane of glass to see your infrastructure so you can manage and monitor at your needs. In the same system, you have the ability to see latencies, throughput on a period level. Like any traditional storage SAN that you had that capability for Appliance, now you have that capability with DataON with Windows 16 because MUS comes with your infrastructure as you purchase these products. And more importantly, you can have the ability to see node level, all the way drill down, not just on the cluster level, node level, but all the way down to the drive level. You should have the ability to see all that capability so you could have a peace of mind. And when there's a disk failure, alert will be sent to you to make sure that you can replace those disks. Ultimately, we believe DataON, we are the platform that we built for Microsoft. And since 2012, working with Microsoft, we've been very happy and very excited to continue this journey with Microsoft and Intel. From 2012 to today, 2016, we have launched additional unique 15 platforms. In the future, as we move to 2017, we want to make sure Windows 2016 is exciting as anything else. We have the right solution for you as customer, but more importantly, moving to Azure and Azure Stack, we should have the right solution for our customer to make sure you have the right product. So that's a wrap for today's webinar, but I think there's some questions, and I'll turn it back to Renee to do some Q&As. Hey, Renee.
Thank you, Howard. And I would like to thank Howard and Thibault and Vivek for this presentation. I will answer or moderate some of these questions for you. Why should enterprise consider Windows Server 2016 storage for your hyper-converged platform deployment?
Thibault, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So for the reasons I outlined before in the presentation, right, this is, you can look at different dimensions of either cost or performance or the type of resiliency options we offer. And not only that, I mean, it's Windows Server 2016 as a whole that delivers a lot of cool capabilities, your entitlements for unlimited VMs. I mean, all of that really makes it an ideal platform for hyper-converged infrastructure because in hyper-converged, you do not want to be thinking about adding costs or paying for when you spin new VMs, right? So unlimited VM entitlement is really handy. And the cost per CPU cycle, I guess, I mean, how should I put it? The I/O that we do at per CPU cycle is a very small factor in the overall, resource utilization of the cluster, right? So what that means is that our software-defined storage layer is highly optimized, it's highly efficient to do what it does best, which is, creates that storage pool for you, right? And allows you to do IOPS. And for that reason, we just do that and then move out of the way, and then you are left with your tenant VMs that get most of your resources from the cluster. And that's why I think it's a great platform.
Thanks, Thibault. If I have 10 terabytes of space on each node, not including the SSD for cache, how much usable space do I have for a cluster of 3 nodes?
So you should expect about 33% efficiency because with 3 nodes, our recommendation is to do a 3-way mirror. So that pretty much gives you 1/3 of your usable space. You can go a little bit more aggressive than that, but we don't recommend because I think for most enterprise workloads, for high performance workloads, you want that availability guarantee, and that can be offered only with a three-way mirror, especially in a three-node cluster. As you go up, like as you scale up 4 nodes gives you about 50% efficiency, 45 to 50%, and then as you scale out all the way to 16 nodes, your efficiency keeps growing up and up all the way up to 80%. So, and that's true with any scale-out platform today, right? The lower number of nodes really give you that. I mean, there's a penalty to a lower number of nodes, but as you scale out in the same cluster, your efficiency grows and your performance gets more predictable as you scale out.
Thank you, Subodh. What benefits does Enterprise NVMe SSD bring to Windows Server 2016 hyper-converged cluster appliances?
Awesome. You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the slides that I presented on NVMe versus a SAS or a SATA gives you an understanding of why enterprise NVMe matters and how it works much better than the other SSD technologies that are there, right? So that's one part. The other part is specific to the hyper-converged storage spaces direct aspect of things. The 3 different configurations and the performance on each of those configurations on a 4-node cluster gives you a complete overview on why NVMe SSDs matter, both on a caching tier as well as a capacity tier if you're looking at IOPS optimized solutions, right? So please take a look at those 3 or 4 slides that are there. That will give you a complete answer for this particular question.
Thank you, Vivek. What kind of visibility is available in Server 2016 into your S2D cluster for capacity planning, reports, etc.?
So I'll take it, and Subodh, you could take it too. So one of the key things for DataON is we want to provide our customer choices, right? Windows 16, you have many ways of monitoring your devices. You can use System Center. You have other ways to monitor, but depending on the customer and size, really there are many choices out there. With DataON, our goal is by introducing Must, which is a management utility platform for visibility infrastructure. You should have the ability to go look at your system and able to prioritize your workload and see the visibility of your infrastructure in terms of performance, health, and everything else. And in that process, clearly, to make sure that the ability to have a right infrastructure will provide you the tools to do that. But you do have many choices, and Must is one of the tools that we have provided for our customer for their setup to make sure they have a really good experience with Windows 2016 as they set it up and able to monitor and manage their platform.
Thank you, Howard. Why is DataON the best choice for Windows Server's 2016 storage and hyper-converged cluster appliances?
There's many choices. Windows 2016 is a great software-defined platform with Intel, and with DataON, we believe we're committed to Microsoft, and that's the only solution we provide in the marketplace, right? We're a software-defined vendor running Windows on our infrastructure, and our product solutions are designed specifically around the Windows infrastructure. So we believe that our solution, systems, storage, and cluster are built to really optimize for Windows Server. So as you look at all your options in the marketplace, we believe DataON, being a long-term partner with Microsoft and really working on all the validation, testing, engineering, we have the best turnkey solution that's optimized for Windows 2016.
Thank you, Howard. That looks like that's it for our questions. I would like to thank Howard, Subodh, and Vivek for taking the time to provide us this informative presentation. And I would like to thank our audience for attending as well. Please don't hesitate to review the attachments and links section in the recorded version of the webinar, which should be available within the next couple of hours. This is going to wrap up the webinar, and I would appreciate any feedback or votes that you guys would like to have on this presentation. You can still ask questions in the recorded version. So again, thank you, Howard, Subodh, and Vivek, and thank you to our audience for attending. That's the end of the presentation.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you, everyone.